Okay, today our learning target is we're going to be looking at using text structures to help us understand our historical text. So things that we're looking at, whether it's in Duxford or Smithsonian Institute, if there's a primary source or a secondary source, we want to determine the text structure that's going to help you understand the facts and the things, the events that have happened in history. So our different text structures, our graphic organizers would include for description, you have the special signal words that are going to help you understand the text structure for description. If you're describing a particular person, a hero of the American Revolution, you're going to say, for example, for instance, such as, in addition, characteristics are, to illustrate, and in fact. If it's a cause and effect, where we were looking at the text where it says, why did people come to the 13 colonies? Why were they leaving Great Britain? Many times it was for religious persecution. What was that cause and what was the effect? They would be put into jail if they had a different viewpoint than the Church of England. So many people left the Great Britain and came to the 13 colonies because they were being persecuted religiously, so they wanted to have religious freedom. So they came with whole groups of people. Lots of families came over because they wanted to get away from the religious persecution. Many people were starving. They were poor. So they thought if they came to the 13 colonies, they could work hard, they could build up their own farm, their money would not be taken from them, they would not live in poverty. So they were looking for opportunity for jobs and then also to own land. So that cause and effect, why did people come to the 13 colonies? So when you're writing your research project for the American Revolution, you want to make sure that you're covering, well, what was the cause and what was the effect? So you can use the word because, so, as a result of, therefore, this leads to, if then, effects of, and maybe due to. So when you're looking at cause and effect for the text structure, these are the signal words. Then for problem and solution, this is the graphic organizer that you can go through, and as you're reading the text, you can say what was the problem and then what was the solution to that problem. So the problem, the conflict, the dilemma, the possible solution, and the reason the question is. So all the Stamp Act, the Sugar Act, all these different things that were happening during the American Revolution, the Tea to Act, all these high taxes where the colonists didn't feel that they were represented in Parliament over in Great Britain. That the problem was that they had these high taxes, but there was no representation. So I want you to think about what was the problem during the American Revolution, and then how did they try to solve it? They tried to write a letter to George III. They tried to talk to the King of England and say, this is what's happening. We want to be represented, but that the king would not listen to them. And then chronological order, you can do like a whole timeline of the American Revolution. When you go into Duxter's, there's a whole list of all the things that happened as, from the very beginning, talking about all the different taxes that were put on. Of course, we started with the French and Indian War, that the Great Britain was paying for this war, and they wanted the 13 colonies to pay for the French and Indian War. So when you look at chronological order, it's first, then, next, after, finally, before, during, not long after the first step. And then to compare contrast, when you're comparing what happened with the 13 colonies, what's happening with Great Britain, how are they different? Both, although, on the other hand, however, all those words are signal words. So first we're going to look at description. It's a text that's written in this text structure, explains a topic, idea, person, place, or object by listing characteristics, features, and examples that describe it. So you have like a main idea and many different details. It uses the signal words, for example, for instance, such as, in addition, characteristics are, to illustrate, and in fact. So if you read this descriptive paragraph, this text structure is called description. Beagles are medium-sized members of the hound family. Beagles generally make good pets because they're intelligent, good-natured, and good with children. Beagles are also quite playful and need a great deal of exercise. So we can say that that main idea is the beagles make good pets. Well, why? What's the supporting detail? They're intelligent. You can train them, right? They're good natured. They're not going to be mean spirited. They're not going to just bite and be angry all the time. And they're good with children. So these are the details that support the main idea. Then for chronological order, this text is written in the text structure, describes an event or how to do something in the order that the events or steps occurred. The signal words are first, then, next, after, finally, before, during, not long after, and the first step. So you talk about the chronological order, you can say, well, what happens first, next, and last. So it's fun to make leaf rubbings in autumn. First, collect some interesting leaves. Then choose one of the leaf and put it underneath a piece of white paper. Next, peel the paper away from a dark colored crayon and use the side of the crayon to color the paper over the leaf. Soon you will see the shape of your leaf. So what happens first? From this text, you say, oh, you collect the leaves. What happens next? Well, you put the leaf under the paper, right? And then what happens last? Well, you're going to color the paper over the top of that leaf. So think about what's asking you in the text, and then how do you put that in order? With problem and solution, in this text structure, the author presents a problem and one or more solutions to the problem. The text may also include the pros and cons of each solution. So you say, here's the problem, the conflict, the dilemma, the possible solutions, the reason, and the question is. So if you say, oh, you're spending too much time in the sun can lead to sunburn, dehydration, and even skin cancer. One way to help prevent these problems is to make sure that you wear sunscreen whenever you're outside. It's also a good idea to avoid being outside during the hottest part of the day between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So what was the problem? Well, the too much sun leads to sunburn, dehydration, and skin cancer. And what's the solution? Well, you're going to wear your sunscreen. You're going to avoid the hottest parts of the daytime. Then for your cause and effect, it's a text written in this text structure is written in a way that tells the cause or causes of events and their effects. So your signal words are because, so, as a result, therefore, this leads to, if then, effects of, and may be due to. So here's a paragraph that describes your cause and effect. The Vancouver Island marmot is a kind of a large rodent that lives high in the mountains of Vancouver Island in Canada. Climate change and logging have caused a large decrease in their population. Scientists believe that there are less than 100 of them left in the wild. So what's the cause? Well, the climate change and logging decreased this population of the marmot. What's the effect? Well, there's only less than 100 that are left in the wild in Canada. Now for our compare contrast, this is a text that's written in the text structure that explains how two or more topics are similar, how they're different. Your signal words are different, similarly, both, in contrast, although, on the other hand, and similar to. So when you look at the text, did you know that not all deserts are hot? Both hot and cold deserts are very dry. But unlike the hot deserts, cold deserts have long winters when the temperatures can reach below freezing. Cold deserts also get a great deal of snow, which is certainly not true for the hot deserts. So what's the same? Well, they're both dry. You know that hot deserts get extremely hot during the daytime. But then in the cold deserts, they have very long winters with these freezing temperatures and snow. So when you look at the purposes of these text structures, the description is a text that's written to explain a topic, an idea, a person, a place, or an object by listing the characteristics, the features, and examples that describe it. For cause and effect, the text is written in the text structure is written in a way that tells the cause or the causes of events and their effects. Then the purpose of your problem and solution. In this text structure, the author presents a problem and one or more solutions to the problem. The text may also include the pros and cons of each solution. Then the purpose of the chronological order or a sequencing. A text written in this text structure describes an event or how to do something in order that the events or the steps occurred. And then your compare contrast. A text written in this text structure explains how two or more topics are the same or how they are different. So when you go through your research project for the American Revolution, you want to be able to look at the different text structures. We're also looking at primary and secondary sources. I gave you the websites for Ducksters, which is like more secondary resources. On your Smithsonian Institute, there's some really great resources about Nathan Hale, describing, the type of person that he was, and the different things that have been the statues and different stamps and different coins that have commemorated how that he was a spy for the American colonists, and that he was pretended to be like a Dutch schoolmaster, and that he had given several maps and different things to George Washington to allow them to know what the Great Britain was going to do. So there were many people that were spies during this time that would get close to the people that, to the British soldiers, and then they would give that information to the colonists and the people that were fighting against Great Britain. So just think about what was happening during this time and who were the heroes of the American Revolution. So think about the sacrifices that they made. And then as you go through the text structure of each of these texts, think about it. Is it a description, a cause and effect, problem solution, chronological order, or compare contrast?